At any point in the world, even 10 years later, there will be multiple futures that we will be living in. The skills that are important for the future. One is going to be the skill to adapt. The skill of not consuming technology, but being able to manipulate technology is going to be important.
Going forward, what do people need to know, right? So what are the kind of skills that people will have? There are some skills that are like, technical skills that people need to know a lot of. But really, sustainability and climate change is a big problem in the world. So everyone who in any job that they're doing anywhere and they have any impact at all, they'll have to think through that,
No, I think communication as a skill, I think, is relevant for everybody. Like whether they're in a job or they're building their independent freelance business or they're doing whatever. I think communication is a great skill that's important.
It's very difficult to crystal gaze. I think if you ask me, at any point in the world, even 10 years later, there will be multiple futures that we will be living in. If you look at today, the present for a person who's living in rural India is very different from a present of a person living in New York, right? So at any point, multiple realities exist. So it's very hard to say top 3 jobs and stuff. I think the thing that I would definitely say is that the skills that are important for the future. One is going to be the skill to adapt, because this time when the moment we passed out of university, we were done for life and we said, okay, I am an engineer for life, or that has gone away because the world is changing at such a rapid pace. You've got to be a lifelong learner. So adaptability is number one. Second, I think technology has become like a third language. So if I'm English, Hindi, I need to know coding to some level so that I'm able to manipulate machines. So now whether it is what are the right prompts to give to ChatGPT, whether it is how do I write a code to change a machine, how it works. So the skill of not consuming technology but being able to manipulate technology is going to be important. That's the second part. And third, I think the social emotional skills of being able to work with other human beings, that is always going to be there, because ultimately what sets human beings apart from machines is the social emotional and creative skills that we have, which is different from the predictive skills that a machine has. So the more we focus on non-cognitive skills of our children versus the cognitive skills, we'll prepare them for the future.
I mean, first of all, India has tremendously good business schools. Okay, so let's start with that proposition. The really good business schools are the one that the graduates, everyone is chasing after them, trying to hire these people. So what do they have, right? So it's not just the fact that these are super bright people who've done really, really well, and therefore they will also do well, likely to do well in the organization. Yes, there is some truth to that. But what have those schools done? So to look at it, what have those schools done? Those schools have done, they've given very rigorous kind of courses that are based on what is best in class understanding or current understanding of what is logical reasoning, what is the way that you make decisions, and so on. So you have very rigorous curriculum, and they have to continue to do that. The curriculum needs to continue to be rigorous. The second thing that these schools have done, and they need to do more of, but they've done well, is there is a tremendous amount of experiential elements that are there in the class. So when you went to these institutions, it's not just the fact that you had projects which you went and did with companies. You also had internships, you had summer internships, you had a whole bunch of experiential elements that were being built into the way that you were doing it. That's the second kind of an element that was important, that was always there. The third element that they always provided is that they provided you with a network of alumni who are always going to be helping you. No matter where you want it, it was going to be helping you. But that also, I'm not seeing this in a purely transactional way. Why do these alumni want to help other alumni, right? Because there is something that these institutions have created, a sense of identity, a sense of like meaning or belonging, that you want to be in that place. So those things will continue to be, so I'm just looking at, and I think about great business schools, essentially that's what they do. It comes down to this is what they do, that's what curricula are. So we learn from already existing great institutions that are there in India and say you need to do more of this. Going forward, what do people need to know, right? So what are the kind of skills that people will have? There are some skills that are like, technical skills that people need to know a lot of when they're doing their job, right? So they're doing their job. So whether we like it or not, no matter, we might pretend that this is not a real problem at this stage, but really sustainability and climate change is a big problem in the world. So everyone who in any job that they're doing anywhere and they have any impact at all, they'll have to think through that, how do I increase whatever it is that I'm doing? How do I make whatever I'm doing, how do I make it related to this goal of attaining sustainability, right? So that's something that people have to be thinking about going forward, thinking about a lot. The second thing that people need to be thinking about, right, is the AI is going to change the world, right? So in really dramatic ways. So what people, when people talk about and say is they say that is it going to replace humans and all? I don't think so if you go by the earlier industrial revolutions, the industrial revolutions resulted in greater number of jobs overall, not fewer number of jobs, right? So greater number of jobs. AI has the potential to do that, right? So now what everyone needs to be thinking about is how do I help, how do I make AI help more people lead productive jobs, okay? And that will be in a business school if you're able to sit and think through that, because if you're through a business school 10 years, you finish in a business school 10 years later, you're in a position to influence a lot of people and do jobs. You need to be thinking about what can I learn skills that will say I'm going to use or harness this technology, this exciting technology for betterment of humans. Okay, so that would be a second thing. And the third thing is that, the human with AI, with whatever it is, it's always there. Leadership and getting along with other people is always going to be important, right? So it doesn't matter whatever world we're going to be living in, those skills, right? So about what would continue to be important would be the soft skills that you always need to have, and to a certain extent we attempt to teach in a business school.
No, I think communication as a skill, I think, is relevant for everybody. Like whether they're in a job, or they're building their independent freelance business, or they're doing whatever. I think communication is a great skill that's important. I think financial literacy is again something which is very important, because as we move, we are a country with majority of our demographics in the 25 to 30 age, or let's say less than 35 age. And I think how to be financially literate and what kind of choices should take. I think that's one thing which I definitely see growing. Third, I think in terms of, it is not just about coding as per se, but I have a very strong point of view that over the next decade, India will be one of those countries where the amount of innovation people can do with simple tools and technologies will be at the massive most. So I think how to use different tools to essentially ease your work and derive more out of yourself. Tech tools for productivity is something that is not taught anywhere in the world. And I think, but we as Indians will probably leverage that the most. We'll be the flag bearers of that across the world.
I think I can't predict this. Maybe ChatGPT can predict it.